But the Australian Human Rights Commission did not accept any of our arguments, didn't really acknowledge them. They just said there's a case to be had here, basically. And so I could go, the goal of the Australian Human Rights Commission is I could go and have what's called conciliation. And so I'd sit in a room with like a conciliator and Roxy Tickle and apparently be told to explain why I don't think that Roxy Tickle or trans women are women. And we were told that to resolve it, we would have to let trans-identified males on the app. I would have to, both Giggle and myself would have to go to gender identity education, and that we'd have to apologize, I think. Oh, and also that we'd have to moderate how women speak on Giggle Talk, so not to offend trans women. So I said no to conciliation, knowing that the Human Rights Commission would potentially advise Roxy to go to federal court, or could say, look, there's actually no case here, so move on. But the Australian Human Rights Commission did advise to go to federal court, and so there was 60 days to file. I waited until 5 p.m. on the 61st day, thinking it was done, and it wasn't. I announced that, we got out of this, it didn't happen, and then a week later we got served with the papers that had been filed with 2.5 hours to spare. And the federal court case was alleging unlawful discrimination, again against Giggle and myself personally. The thing that was the craziest in it, I was referred to as the second respondent, and that they said that I've referred to I was in breach of something because I'd referred to trans women, including the applicant, as male. And so it's just so crazy to get a lawsuit where they're trying to punish you for telling the truth. It's psychologically harmful, yes, but it's so confusing that you feel like you're upside down. You're just going what world am I living in? When federal court would actually send a document saying that I'm in breach of something for saying the truth. I was saying to our barrister, do I have to lie under oath? What's expected of me here? Because trans women are male. It's actually the only prerequisite. I can't be a trans woman. That's just how it is. This is just madness. So basically, we had 28 days to respond when we got this. And at the time, I was 27 days away from giving birth. I'm now 2 days away. And so we were putting everything together to respond. The legal team was brilliant and at work. And then on Monday, we got notice that the case had been withdrawn. We have no information as to why that is, so all we can go by is assumptions. My assumption ultimately is that I think we would win in court, and we would be able to protect female-only spaces Australia-wide from any kind of treatment like this, and that's not in the best interest of the transactivism lobby. It is much better to keep the law as obscure and as it is right now. It's very muddled and then trying to intimidate women with it. But at the same time, I hope that women in Australia and in other places have seen, while it's been traumatic and stressful standing up to this, if you stand up to them, they'll back down. They just will, because they don't expect you to. They're quite used to, because they were doing this in silence for a while, and women businesses and things were just sort of giving into them out of fear, because no one likes being called a bigot or a transphobe or discriminatory or anything like that. It's horrible, especially when you know you're not that kind of person. But when we are all getting educated on this and understanding that being called that doesn't mean you are anymore. Yeah, hopefully it just inspires women to go, no, I'm going to stand up to it as well. And sure, the more women who do it, the shorter the time of the punishment is the process will be. Eventually, we'll all just have stood up to it and we'll have drowned it out. What we've experienced this week is a huge win. We didn't have to go to court for it. In Australia, because of the Sex Discrimination Act and the gender identity clause in it, it's still, one would argue, a little bit muddled. It's there to be scrutinised. And in the event that we're sort of called on to fight it again, we will. I'll always fight for it. I'm not going to back down now.